Okay, so Paul Marie, welcome everybody to our December Community Board meeting. It's great to have everyone here. I'll open tonight's meeting with a karakia timatanga. So takina te marama ki a tātou, takina te aroha ki a tātou, takina te rangi mārie ki a tātou, ko pirongia me te kawa, ko mangatauteri, ko kakipuku, nā maunga, ko waikato, ko waipa, nā awa, tihei mauri ora. So that translated is, let the light be called forth to shine upon us. Let love be called forth to rest among us. May be called forth to dwell between us, our mountains, Pirongia and Te Kawa, Mangatauteri and Kikipuku, our rivers, Waikato and Waipa. Behold the breath of life. So apologies. Do we make a little, just a late apology for Kane? Yep, okay, so everybody's here, but Kane's just been slightly delayed. So if we can just have someone to move that, board member Titchener will be a wee bit late tonight. Thanks, Jill. Someone to second that. Dean, all in favour? Against? Carried. Next up, we have disclosure of members' interests. So is there anything in tonight's agenda that any members feel that they need to disclose or have a conflict of interest in regard to? No, okay, that's good. Our third item is our public forum, and I believe Peter, if you'd like to hop up the top end there, Peter Fletcher is going to have just a very brief chat with us about how the unveiling of the sundial and the 70th birthday for the Te Awamutu War Memorial, World War II War Memorial Park went on Sunday. So welcome, Peter. You're right there. Push that wee button so it goes green. It's all yours. Thank you.
Thanks very much for asking me to speak. On the 4th of December 1955, our Solely World War II Memorial Park was opened. On the 4th of December, 70 years later, we replaced the missing sundial on the same day, or not the same day of the week. We decided to have a celebration of the opening on its 70th year, rather than wait until for another 5 years, as some of us mightn't be around then. So we very quickly organised it, and we decided to reenact the opening day and all the speeches from that were mentioned on the opening day. They had one piper. We had 3 pipers this time. And so I spoke on behalf of the Prime Minister, Sydney Holland. And then after reenacting all the speeches, people like Gooseman, who was the MP and the Minister of Public Works and so on. And then I unveiled the sundial, mainly on behalf of the next of kin and the fallen. I represent over 50 next of kin, is my role in it all. So we did the unveiling, and from that moment, the 3 pipers, we went through the park, stopping in 3 places, and they each piper played their met mostly for the fallen. So we felt it went very well. It was well represented by the public. The council's managers said they were coming but didn't. They're about the only ones who didn't turn up. And so it all came to an end. And I put up a display which included photos from the opening day in December the 4th, 1955. And so we felt obliged to celebrate the 70th year of our Solely World War II Memorial Park.
Thanks, Peter. And a few of us got down there, so it was a great job considering how quickly you pulled it all together on a beautiful day. So thank you to you and Mark and all the work that you've done down there with the dial. The sundial, it looks amazing. And for pulling together that event at such short notice. Shane, would you?
I just want to acknowledge you and the team that did that. I think you did a fantastic job. A couple of things that stayed with me was that the population of Te Awamutu at that stage was 5,000 people, and they believe 3,000 was at the Memorial Park to open it. And the mayor described it as an area that had blackberries, and it was an out-of-town area that had no value, so turning into Memorial Park was a great thing. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that with us.
Thanks, Peter. So now, as we don't have any other people for the public forum today, we will move on to item 4, which is the confirmation of our previous minutes, and you'll find that on pages 6 to 10 of our agenda. So I didn't spot anything that minor changes that needed to be made. So assuming that everything's okay, can we please move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board confirms the open minutes of the inaugural meeting held 12th of November 2025 as circulated with the agenda as a true and correct record of proceedings. So I'll move that. Can I have someone second it? John, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, so hopefully we've got Vanessa on standby to speak to us about the North Waipa South Hamilton Spatial Study Update or Future Proof and the Southern Links. So Vanessa, I'm going to hand over to you. We will take your report as read because we don't expect you to go through 115 pages with us. But
apologies for that.
That's not your fault. It's just, I'll give it to you to speak to. Thank you.
Yeah, tēnā tātou katoa. Thanks for making the time to discuss this project. And Kirsty, I don't know if you wanted to make a bit of an introduction of the area or...
Yeah, if I can. So just in speaking with the chair a couple of days ago, I thought it's important just to provide some context for Vanessa's report. In terms of, I guess, the wider area and why this is important for Te Awamutu and Kihikihi and surrounds. So you'll be well aware of the significant growth that is occurring on the southern boundary of Hamilton City and the northern part of Waipa District as part of the development of Ahuaki, our Waipa Community Spatial Plan. That was approved by Council in March of this year. We signalled that there would be likely further growth in Rukahia and around the airport with flow-on impacts south. Vanessa is going to talk about the work being led out of Future Proof, but this really follows on from the work that we undertook for Ahuaki. What we're seeing also at this current time is a number of fast-track applications that are seeking to provide for increased residential and industrial development in that Hamilton South, Waipa North area. This work that Vanessa is going to present to you on is significant for Waipa, and on that basis we have we've identified that we need to have influence and input into this spatial study, and so we put forward Vanessa to to project manage this piece of work on behalf of Future Proof, but she is working several days a week on this project. It is a priority work stream for her. And that is because we recognise the value of that for our district as a whole. So I just wanted to provide that context for you before you then look and drill down and focus on the particular spatial study that has been led out of Future Proof. So thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Kirsty, for the introduction, and that provides actually a really good set of background for the importance of this area as an economic kind of powerhouse for the Waipa district. So I will take the report as read, but there is just a few things, as this is the first time that this board is actually introduced to the project because of the 20th of August meeting. Pre-election obviously had been actually kind of cancelled. So as Kirsty kind of mentioned, the future development strategy, which is actually led by Future Proof, will look at every development areas and how you actually manage growth within the Future Proof kind of area, as well as Ahuaki had already identified this area as an economic opportunity. On the back of this, as Kirsty just mentioned, we've got a lot of fast track application who have actually started north of Rukuia in what we have identified as the strategic boundary agreement. So just to kind of recall or provide a little bit of background on this, some areas on north of the sovereign designation have been committed to be transferred to Hamilton City Council through a strategic boundary agreement that was signed in 2022. And we have actually received some fast track application with it in this area for industrial and residential development. So in some ways, the study area is somehow committed to a level of development or level of land use change over the next 30 years. Some happening within the airport precinct, and some happening in those area north of the Hamilton Summer Links, or the Waipa Summer Links, as we like to call it inside here internally. So the study, or at least the scenarios, what we're looking at this afternoon or this evening, is really about, we understand and we accept that some part of this area will be changing land use likelihood from rural to urban over the next 30 years. So the question is, let's have a choice in what's happening. And the scenarios are not proposal of land use change, they are exploratory tools into what if this type of development was happening in a certain area. What would we see, and what would be actually the trade-off, or what would be the implication for such thing to happen? And that's really what I am kind of presenting tonight via this report. So I will be opening for questions in a minute. I would just mention a few things, though, regarding the engagement and the survey, which is what we're looking at actually tonight. Is so the engagement was intending to close on the 4th or 5th of December, so last couple of Fridays ago, last Friday. This has now been extended to the 17th of December to ensure that committee boards actually are able to provide some feedback. So there are actually multiple options for you to do that. You can do this individually as a board member on the link that was provided within the report. A second option would be actually to provide feedback during the meeting here, but obviously ensuring that the report was reviewed and the scenario kind of understood as well. And we will need to actually change the resolution and the recommendation, or there is a third option where we could actually have an authority delegated to the chair to combine those feedback and for them to be presented ahead of the Christmas deadline. Okay. If that's okay, I will now take the report as read and open for any questions.
Righto, team. Have we got some questions? Liam, take it away.
Hi, Vanessa. My name's Liam Bullen. I'm newly elected to the community board, so nice to meet you. Thanks for coming along tonight to present this to us, and also for extending the deadline to accommodate us as well if we should choose to do so. I had a couple of questions. I suppose my first one was how this round of engagement, how has it been advertised to people?
Thanks, Liam, and welcome to the board. So from the first line, this study is a technical assessment. Therefore, we had identified stakeholders through the committee communication and engage plan. And one of the items was to actually bring it to the committee boards as a stakeholder. It's not really a document that we have shared with the community because of the non-statutory status of this. As mentioned, this is a technical assessment which precedes a possible statutory process, and therefore the level of technicality which is actually implied in the scenario could be probably misunderstood by the wider community. So what we engage to do is actually to provide this to the committee board, which are committee representatives, to gather feedbacks on behalf of a community, and that is really due to the timeframes as well of the project, but also the targeted engagement approach that we've taken for this study.
Cool, thanks for clarifying that. Just to follow up, so it's targeted stakeholder engagement, but anyone could still submit on it, is that right? So residents who live in the area could still submit if they wanted to? Absolutely.
While we haven't actually engaged directly with the committee outside the community board, we have actually engaged with landowners in the area, such as the majority of some landowners in Rukuya. So again, just to kind of stipulate that the study area is very much north of Ohopo, so we wouldn't have actually be engaging with the Awamutu and Kihikihi residents. We've engaged with some of the schools as well. So it's open to the public, of course. It's just that the targeted approach was decided on targeting the stakeholders. But if any committee members were to stumble upon the survey, happily receiving their feedback.
Thanks. I just wondered as well if you could maybe summarize the next steps. I know they're in here, but briefly for anyone who I suppose is watching this meeting and might be interested in this in the future and wanting to submit, including when, I think you said the next step was an MCA, including when that might happen. Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for taking the opportunity to outline this. So we are currently in the phase 2 of engagement, noting that phase 1 was on the gap analysis, and that was during the month of July and August. What we're currently doing is putting the scenarios out there and asking actually stakeholders to identify the trade-off risk opportunities for each kind of scenario. And the idea is, once we actually received those feedback, in addition to an MCA, which is a multi-criteria assessment, which has already actually been carried out by a technical team internal to Future-Proof. We also have an economic assessment which has been carried out, but we need to still be reviewing. So considering those three assessments, stakeholder feedback, MCA technical assessment, and the economic analysis of all those 5 scenarios, what we will do is look at those elements who perform the best within each scenario for us to create what we call an hybrid or a preferred scenario. And this scenario will be formulated into a set of recommendations to update the future development strategy. Now, this afternoon, we received the draft or the consultation document for the resource management reforms. And it's still to understand actually if a future development strategy will be applicable in the future years. It looks like it will be actually a regional spatial plan. So this work could be used as a recommendation to that regional spatial plan, which is still a proposition from the central government, to indicate what best development are to happen within the study area. Noting that it is likely, and I need to go through the details of the proposal from the reform. I haven't done that. That's been actually updated at 1 p.m. this afternoon. Likely that this regional spatial plan will be part of the consultation process, which is a statutory step. Okay, so once this is done at a regional plan or future development strategy, it's likely that it will trickle down into some sort of, again, the shape and form we're not fully aware, some sort of district plan rules, which again will be a statutory process and therefore possible consultation with the community. So this item there, just to summarize quickly, here we're just looking at selecting a preferred scenario, which will serve as a recommendation document to a series of statutory processes where the community will be fully engaged with to lock in a set of rules when it comes about development in the area. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm an RMA lawyer and I also haven't read the bills yet because I only got introduced today. So yeah, I just had one more question. You talked about fast track applications that you've received. I wondered, because of the short timeframes to grant those, I'm not sure what stage the ones you're talking about are at, if they're referred or if they've been lodged, the substantive ones, or if they're just listed. But how does this fit in with those ones that are currently in train, if at all, because presumably they might be granted, you know, by the time this is finalized, this sort of study?
It's a very good point, Liam. I suppose we're playing a bit catch up with what's happening at the moment within the area, and we need to be adaptable and flexible with what those fast track will be, what the outcome of those fast track would be. So we're looking to finalize this study by May 2026. What we know is currently, especially within the ELSA 1 area, and Kirsty, you can add to it as you might be more aware, but what we're aware of is some have been referred, some are listed, and there is an expectation for one to be lodged by early next year. So as you have noted, the ELSA 1 area, which is the northwest of the Sovereign Lakes corridor, is already pretty much engaged in some sort of land use change if those fast track were to be granted.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I don't have any more questions. Thanks for answering those.
Thank you.
Okay, so would anyone like to follow on from Liam's questions? There might be a couple. Jill?
So hi, thank you for your report, and really good to read. I agree with you and Kirsty saying there's a huge growth. So this is probably a little bit of a different question, and I'm just wondering if it's included in your report or would be. So for those who know me, I've been quite passionate about watching the airport, all the buildings that have gone there, which is great, great for our area, huge big build up. But I'm very disappointed in Road Transport Authority that they haven't maintained the roundabout on Ohaupo Road, Cambridge Road. They've done it once in seven years. And it's quite dangerous for some people have had accidents, and I've dealt with Road Transport about it. So my question would be, with all the building up of the areas and all the building we've got going, would the council be likely to take over some of these areas from Road Transport because they haven't got the time or money to look after them and maintain them? Meaning that roundabout in particular, but in quite a few of the other areas there are, on the state highway, there are roundabouts that are quite dangerous as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I wouldn't be able to answer directly this question, and I think that's probably a note that we can make and pass on to the transport team, to Brian Hudson. I would say. What I would say though is that the scenarios are tools to kind of understand what the level of service will be required in each possible future that we have depicted. So what we will be doing following the formulation of a preferred scenario is to start really understanding what type of intervention we need to have, and that means business case, that means project, and that's not just for Waipai, will be at Hamilton or Future Proof or from a NZ8 perspective in collaboration to understand how we actually sustain a good level of services to the Waipa community, and that's why scenarios are quite a very interesting approach, because they really start posing the problems that you might occur in the future if so much development was to occur, and at the pace that we are currently experiencing. So that I'm afraid I can't answer the exact question that you had, but in the work that we're doing, this is the type of question that we are asking, is if we were to anticipate so much development as we are expecting within the area, how would our corridors, our roads, and not just our roads, our community facilities, our parks, our assets in general, will be able to sustain this?
Thank you.
Has anyone else got any questions in regard to Vanessa's report at this point? Okay, I've got a couple if that's all right, Vanessa. So just a little bit of a continuation of Liam's question in regard to the fast track issue. Assuming that the plan is all adopted by May 2026, how much, I'm not sure if I'm using the right word, but control or ability does it have once it's adopted to be able to slow down the fast track process if those fast track projects are coming at us like a bull at a gate? And the reason I ask that is that scenario of the fast track for me was actually quite concerning, that potentially it could be very ad hoc. It's the lack of planning, I suppose, that potentially is in that space is a little bit scary. So yeah, how much control does it have?
Okay, so I'm just going to take a step back and really kind of reassert what the study is about. And it will not be a plan, or it will not be a strategy. It will be right now we're doing a technical recommendation, and that's why I was talking about a non-statutory process. But saying this, you will see that in all scenarios, we have deemed those fast track application to come live at some point in time, just in case they were to be granted. So through the scenario 3, you would have seen, and I think that's what you're referring to, we have pretty much all the fast track application being granted and being developed. And that's a scenario we need to be able to explore. In scenario 4 and scenario 2, you would have seen that they are coming live with the infrastructure as a coordinated manner as well. So still some development, but in a coordinated way. In scenario 4 and 5, you will have seen that we implied some sort of feasibility and constructability issue for those fast track application as well. And all those are possible outcome, okay? It's not really, you know, with, again, Liam will be able to probably support this. The proposal from central government is really to have an accelerated land zoning, so opening up area for development. And that's why we need to test what the trade-off would be for this. So it's not, it's about understanding how we manage these if they were to be coming live, yeah. So again, it's a set of recommendation to a statutory process. So the regional spatial plan, probably maybe a district plan, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't actually. After I asked it, I thought, yeah. As far as the control of the plan, I suppose, sort of like what flow on things will come of it, and you've just answered that part perfectly.
That's
so
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's probably the, you know, in some ways the targeted engagement approach allows for us to kind of control a bit the narrative around what are scenarios. They're not proposal for development, because some of them could be quite scary. They're only exploratory mechanism to see what we need to do in certain status, if you like. Yeah.
Cool, thanks, Vanessa. And then my other question was around us as a community board, and I picked up that you said that community boards were selected as stakeholders to gather feedback on behalf of the community. So are you able to maybe summarise what you see as impacts for Te Awamutu? I mean, we've probably got some ideas ourselves, but you've done all of the study and so much mahi in this space that, you know, are there things that we may not be aware of, or, yeah, just in your opinion?
Yeah. So you will be, I gather, and I appreciate that it's a lot of document to kind of read, and one thing that I probably would recommend, if you wanted to have a really quick glance at the effect on Te Awamutu, and as I was trying, well, as I updated you yesterday, is while the study area doesn't actually reach to Te Awamutu and Kihikihi, and therefore doesn't directly affect, the land use doesn't directly affect this area, we have highlighted in the document possible and direct effect to Te Awamutu and to Cambridge and to Hamilton CBD as well. Because we thought, well, they're not in the study area, but the right question will be, what are actually those kind of trade-off, or what are the ripple-on effects that we could see happening in those satellite location around satellite to the study area, I mean. And I suppose one theme would be to look at the level of provision for commercial and servicing needs by Te Awamutu in each scenarios. So you will see that, for example, in scenario 3, when we have a lot of development happening in this future, in this possible future, if a lot of development was to happen somewhere else, you might see developers leapfrogging and therefore going to different areas and to develop those areas who are actually cheaper to develop. So that could be a consequence to Awamutu, so a slowdown in development because some developers have leapfrog. So the commercial servicing needs, residential development pace could be one aspect of the ripple-on effect. Another one could be on transport, for example, as well. Again, on scenario 3, if you look at all those development kind of popping through a little bit around the area, you start getting a state highway which becomes very, very busy because people pretty much go to the same location at the same time, and peak hour becomes actually quite a nightmare. So again, in some of those scenarios, when you look at them, the transport corridors or the level of public transport as well could be affected, especially on that state highway 3 as well. Yeah, so these were the like some of the key themes from a transport and from a development demand and supply within Awamutu. That could be some of the ripple-on effect. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Vanessa. Dean?
Yeah, hi, Vanessa. Dean Taylor. I'm one of the council reps on the board. I'm just interested in any of the scenarios. There's obviously going to be growth, and there's things that local bodies will be part of that we can manage, obviously, like you know, all the necessary infrastructure, and we'll be working with the NZTA and all that. But one of the things that would concern me is around provision of schooling. And I note that it's mentioned in some of the scenarios, but we already know on our updates around what's going on in Cambridge that hopes for a new school in Cambridge that could help them seems to have been put on hold. So how confident would you be with the Ministry of Education providing schooling if we were to have any of the growth scenarios that we're talking about, considering that I understand Rukuhai is pretty much limited already, and a Helpo school, I wouldn't imagine you'd want it to be too big because of the danger situation. But, you know, so, you know, how do we get on with the ministry and how do they fit into this?
Thank you for this question. So I will probably present what the project team is within Future Proof, and MOE is actually part of this, of the project team. So during the multi-criteria assessment that I referred to earlier on, we had the Ministry of Education coming in and giving us actually some feedback about what better element or what scenarios might be actually most appropriate for them to ensure there is a good level of service from the schools who are currently represented within the spatial study area. So the Minister of Education, as well as the NZTA, so New Zealand Transport Agency, as well as Kangaroo and MHUD, so Ministry of Urban Development, have all a representative within the project team themselves. So they help develop the scenarios and they helped assess them as well.
Shane?
Thank you, Vanessa. I think it'd be interesting, and maybe this is a question for you, Kirsty, is to just explain to everyone what Future Proof is, because one of the things for me as a new councillor was being impressed with that total organisation and the fact that it even existed and what work it does for with the Waipa District Council. I think it's worth mentioning.
Thank you, Shane. And just for your information, so we are arranging an induction session for the community boards on placemaking, and as part of that, we will be looking to bring our future-proof partners or incorporate information about future-proof as part of that session. But essentially it is a sub-regional growth partnership that has been established with the partners now are Waikato Regional Council, Hamilton City Council, Waikato District Council, Waipa District Council, Matamata Piako District Council, as well as central government agencies. So it does have representation from NZTA Whakakatahi, Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, as well as Kāinga Ora also have representation. There is representation from Department of Internal Affairs, and then there is iwi representation. And so Vanessa talked about the development of a long-term future-proof strategy. As part of the National Policy Statement on Urban Development, there is a requirement on councils, those high-growth councils, to prepare a future development strategy, and for Waipa that has been delivered through the Future-Proof Partnership. So we work collaboratively to adopt a boundaryless planning approach across that, that sub-region, so contained within the wider Waikato region, but it's a smaller part of that. And I guess there is work underway in relation to transportation, water strategy, housing. We also collaborate with the Waikato Housing Initiative, who have representation at the Chief Executives Forum within Future-Proof. There is a governance forum, Future-Proof Implementation Committee, so we have representation at that. For this triennium, that is Mayor Mike Pettit, supported by Deputy Mayor Joe Davies-Colley and Councillor Mike Montgomery. There is a Chief Executives Advisory Group that Steph O'Sullivan sits on. There is a Senior Leaders Group, the Program Management Group that I sit on, and Katie Mays is our alternative. And then there are different project groups, and we have technical staff who are represented on those. So yeah, it's quite a comprehensive entity, and with the intention it is around really, I guess, supporting the sub-region, and so that we can, you know, we can be successful in terms of providing for and managing growth, and that includes economic growth. Yeah, but we will definitely be bringing to you a comprehensive induction session, because one of the requests that we had from one of the community board members was around placemaking. What is that? What are we doing to deliver on that? And Future-Proof absolutely has a part to play. So we will share with you for our councillors, the Future-Proof partners, the chair, Bill Wosley, independent chair, and Robert Brodnax, who is the technical implementation advisor, came in and presented a PowerPoint presentation. So I think it's one thing to just provide that to you by email, but it's another thing to actually have someone speak to that. Yeah, but it was hugely beneficial for our elected members.
Yeah, thanks, Keith.
Just to add, I put a bit of an historical of how Future-Proof was developed as well in the report on page 2 of the report, for the ones who want to have a look.
Thanks, Kirsty. Appreciate that. Kane, did you have something?
Yeah, Kirsty, is this Future-Proof incorporating the 17 Sustainable Development Goals at all?
I can't answer that off the top of my head, but I will follow up. They've through the Future-Proof strategy, there are transformational moves, but I just would need to follow up and determine whether that is incorporated within the work of Future-Proof. Kane, we'll come back to you on that.
Thanks, Kirsty. Have we got any more questions for Vanessa or Kirsty on the Future-Proof project? If not, we have a wee discussion and some decisions to make. So the recommendations are that we have some choices here, whether we look at individually completing the survey that is still open. It'll be open till the 17th. So as community board members, we can go and do that individually. We can make some recommendations collaboratively tonight, and they will be moved as recommendations, or alternatively, we can delegate to either myself or one of the board members to do a submission or provide feedback basically to Vanessa and the Future Proof team. So I suppose if I get a bit of an idea of what the feeling is for each option is probably the easiest way to do it. So is there an appetite for doing this individually and or completing a survey individually at all? No. Jill, did you want to say
I was just going to say, I think we do need to do something because we are representing all the community.
Yeah, no, yeah. Would you prefer to push on and do something tonight and have more of a discussion about what we think of the report and collate something tonight, or what's the feeling on that one? I won't do the or, otherwise I'm going to get confused. Not so keen on doing it all now?
I think it would be a good idea to have a discussion now, but if we wanted to also represent the community, members might want to have a chance to talk to some people that they think might be interested, but then we'd have to work out how we're going to collate that into a submission.
Yeah, and it's going to have to be pretty tight because of course it needs to be in by the 17th, and whoever's writing it needs a bit of time probably to put it together.
I guess I'm suggesting we have a discussion tonight and then we delegate and we can add to it and leave it to the delegated person.
Yep, well, I'm happy either way. It's up to you guys. So is the rest of the board in support of having some discussion initially? So we've got a bit of a lead and then we can make a delegation. Yep, okay. Well, who wants to start the discussion? Are you guys okay to kind of take some notes for us on the way the conversation goes? Thank you. I can do it at the end because I'll receive it at the end and then we'll make an official recommendation. So if we have the discussion part now and then we'll finalise it all with after that. So open to discussion. Sorry, Dean.
Pretty happy to start. My views are pretty simple. I'd like to see us have some control and going through all the scenarios. I think the second scenario seems the most logical and quite achievable, but I also think scenario 5 would be exciting and quite brave move for us, and in a way I think that's what I'd prefer if we had the wherewithal to do that, because I think it would be sort of a, I don't know, leading the way, I think, for some other parts of the country. And I also have a view that while we are a growth area, that doesn't mean we have to go berserk on growth. We've already been told that growth doesn't pay for itself. And so it would, you know, there's issues with too much growth. And I think if we're looking at New Zealand as a whole, I think somewhere along the line, someone's got to get the message that we should populate the whole country, not just the top half. That's my view.
Yeah, the statistics were interesting, weren't they? That 50% are from us up pretty much. Anyway, who's next? Shane?
Well, obviously the reports are very good in terms of the work that's gone into it. We can't add any value to that as it happens. So it's just the fact that there's going to be a population increase south of Hamilton, and how does that affect Te Awamutu and Kihikihi? And it's just, I think it's just a submission that would point to the fact that given that there's that population growth, is that been accounted for in transport plans for Te Awamutu and things like that? So, we can't go into too much detail because all the good work's been done, and it's just to highlight the fact that, to remind people to make sure all those bases have been covered for Te Awamutu in 2050.
Yep, I quite like the sound of that, Kane.
Yeah, so just scenario 5, environmental gateway. I've got some concerns around significant natural areas. I think it's an attack on private property. I think we've seen that over the country where people's property's just been taken essentially from them. So it just mentions that there. Also, in terms of like the cost of cycleways, etc., if that's going to be actually cost prohibitive for this scenario. So I've got some concerns around that for that particular scenario. Yep.
So where's your preference then, as far as a scenario goes, just to give us a bit of a lead?
Yeah, I think as Shane says, it's, you know, like there's a huge amount of work that's gone into it. So, I mean, we're going to have to take our time to go through some of these things, to be honest with you, and get more of an understanding. So, yeah, I'm just pointing out those things that I've got concerns with.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, and it was a lot of reading over the weekend to try and digest too. So, yeah, no, well done to everyone that did get through it all. Are there any, Liam, have you got any comments there?
Just one thing, I suppose. I'm not sure if I would be comfortable with choosing a scenario tonight, or if we should choose one that we support as a group, or if we should all focus on it and, you know, do individual submissions, or say individually which one we would support in our own submission. I don't know if we would reach agreement tonight on which scenario we're going to support. If that's the purpose of this, I certainly wouldn't be able to choose one or endorse one tonight. Yeah.
Okay, so, and we've definitely got, from the looks, a variety of opinions around what we want to support. So I tend to think that what we may, you know, like we've had some initial discussion, but I think we possibly need to do a little bit more, and possibly, as Dean suggests, maybe just talk to a couple of key people that, you know, and how they see it impacting Te Awamutu. I did have one suggestion, and that's instead of us maybe focusing on selecting a scenario though, is it an idea that we focus on the impact of whatever scenario and how it affects Te Awamutu, like what Shane's saying, and then it's not about us having to all agree on a scenario. It's actually about us saying, hey, our submission or our feedback is more around that whatever happens, please take into consideration, you know, how is this increased transport going to affect, like Shane says, affect Te Awamutu? Is it likely to see our housing increase? How is it going to affect our retailers? You know, like I was a little bit concerned to see there's a suggestion of some quite significant retail options as being a possibility. Well, you know, we already lose a lot of people to the base, and that's on the other side of Hamilton. So imagine what it's going to do to our retail if something like that's able to proceed. So maybe if we focus on pulling out some things to highlight, and that's our focus, would that sit with everybody? Because I think we're going to go round and round in circles otherwise. Dean?
I can see your point, but I think Vanessa's explained these are the scenarios that have been developed as a sort of as a way of moving forward by giving an idea of how it's going to work, and then everything in each scenario, then like there's a lot in them, and I think all of the things we're talking about are in them. You know, so from my point of view, for instance, I thought either the coordinated approach, because that way we have some control, we can see how things are going. Obviously, we'd be working with Hamilton City, and that would give us some control over those other things, such as transport, what's developed in terms of business and anything else out by the airport, because it's a coordinated approach, so we'd have some control and we could address those other issues. And then the same with number 5, I like that because it's a bit brave, and also while it says it's about environmental, it's not just that, it's about everything else as well. It's just got a different focus, and it also addresses a lot of those concerns which I would have for our part of the district. With something like that big going on to the north of us, between us and our major city. So I think it would be appropriate for us to give an indication of which of the scenarios fitted and what we think is best, because there's so much in the scenarios already. I think if we were to start talking about individual things such as transport or where a road should go, or please give us a bus, they're already done all that work and it's already in there. So yeah, that's my view anyway. I think it's completely appropriate, and we could finalise that. I think we could give an indication now, and we could finalise it if we wanted to talk to other people and then have some sort of way of agreeing.
Sorry, I'm going to stop you there because I think Vanessa's got something to add around the scenarios that just might clarify things for us.
Thank you, Ange. I appreciate that, some members might be actually lining more into one scenario than the other. But just to go back into how the survey has been developed or structured, is more about the elements that are positive or negative within each scenario. So there is no scenario out there, like within the FAD, who are good or who are performing extremely well. They all have trade-offs. And the idea is to try to understand which element needs to be picked, a little bit like a recipe book, right? So it's about taking elements of one and elements of another and trying to understand what are the views across the performance of each of those elements. So if you were to look at the survey, we've divided it into categories. So for example, we says, which scenario do you feel more closely aligned with your vision? Which scenario best support the type of industry you believe are viable? Which transport improvement do you believe are the most important for the area? Things like this. So we're really trying to pick on elements rather than picking the full package of a scenario. I just thought it was quite important just to guide the feedback. Does that make sense?
Yep, it sure does. Okay, so I'm open to some suggestions how we actually manage this, because without having seen the survey, and because when I read the report, I thought that it had closed on the 5th, so I didn't even look at it. Sorry, Vanessa. I think that that's actually quite important. It's my opinion that it's quite important that we understand those questions to assist with the feedback that they're needing. Otherwise, I think we might be going off on a tangent and spending a lot of time and not actually addressing what you're wanting. Shane.
So listening to what Vanessa has to say, it sounds like the survey will point you in the right direction. So it's just a question of getting the survey and then going through the survey as a group and determining from that.
Yeah, I just feel that, well, are we happy to do, I mean, we are happy to do it as a group, right? So it's just about the how we manage that. And so I think probably the best case scenario is that from here, we've had a bit of initial discussion. We've heard from each of us about some concerns, some likes and dislikes. If we go away and have a look at that survey, how about in our recommendation then that we do delegate to someone, but we feed back and collate that information for us to present as a single survey to Vanessa, rather than doing all individual ones, because that's kind of, I'm not sure that that's not coming from the community board, is it? It's coming from us all individually.
So somebody can do a draft on behalf of all our different,
Does that sound okay? Liam, you've had a thought.
Just in terms of how specific the questions are, if it's like it's a question and then there's 5 different options, for example, I have also haven't looked at the survey, but say if we got it back and our feedback as a community board was, Ange thinks option 1, I think option 2, Dean thinks option 3, how will that, I'm not sure how that would be reflected in our answer.
Yeah.
Is it like a majority rules, or, is it, I don't know practically how that works, and it's hard to assess that without actually seeing the survey.
I think if we're doing it democratically, we'll have to give our feedback, and then it will be, if there's, 4 of us go this way and 2 of us go that way, that'll be the way that we feedback on the question, is because that would be how we would do it if we were going to go through every single one here now to make our decision as a community board. Yep. Okay, let's do that then, and let Vanessa go home. There's nothing else anyone wanted to clarify before we make some recommendations? Okay, so sorry, just 1 minute. So what I did want to know, does somebody else want to be responsible for collating the information and putting that together? It's not that I don't want to, I'm offering the opportunity to everybody else. If someone wants to do it or wants to help, that would be great.
Well, I'd nominate you,
Thanks.
but
You're going to help her.
but I'm happy to do it if you would like me to do it. for you.
Okay,
It's just a matter of collating it and reporting back. I would suggest that if a particular answer was quite split, that we could have a second go at it, almost like a transferable vote type situation
yeah,
to get the best consensus.
Yep.
So I'm happy to do it if you'd like me to.
okay. I nominate you. Right, so up on the board, we've got our options. So we're actually going to change it slightly to delegate to the authority to Dean Taylor.
I can get that information.
Okay, all right, let's leave it like that and you're going to help me. Okay, cool, thank you. Righto, so if we're happy with what that reads, I'll read it out and we'll move it. So is everybody happy with what's up on the board? Liam?
So I'm not sure if it reflects the fact that we're gonna democratically vote. I suppose that kind of
That's a
sounds
good
like
point.
the chair is gonna
Make the decision.
talk to us, but then ultimately make a decision.
Yeah, which
on the
I'm
same
not.
Consultation.
Yeah,
Oh,
but in my view, that means you'll talk to us,
Okay.
say-
how would you recommend we just rejig that to make that?
Just in terms of voting, you can really only do that in terms of that formal setting when we're in this formal meeting. One option is to pass a recommendation to have another meeting and then come back and do it at that type of process. If you want to have it formal where you're going to vote, that would be the way to that you'd have to go if you wanted that whole vote process to be in place.
Is there a necessity for us to do that? So if we don't formalise that as part of it, but that's what we've agreed here tonight, that we're comfortable to do, that it's just the way that we're just being open and transparent and saying this is the way we're going to be able to do it so that we get a collaborative response that we're presenting on behalf of the community board as opposed to our own individual responses without getting too bogged down with the legalities of our.
Majority decision, or
Yeah,
there's not really a vote. It's
yeah, just a,
what's the view?
yeah,
My suggestion would be that if I'm going to be getting people to send me what they would put in it via an email, and then I'm just counting and going back to the group if there's some that aren't clear, that there's a complete paper trail of all of that.
Yeah.
If anyone needs to see it, which would then go to the chair to submit. So that if anyone's concerned. I'm sure that would be
Does
clear
that-
enough if anyone.
Does that work, Liam?
If there's a, if there's a paper trail of what our views were.
Hmm.
So what you're saying.
Well, basically, because I imagine
Yeah.
go through the survey, everyone sends the answers, I collate it. You know, I can't get away with cheating just because I want my own way, because everyone sent an email and someone can look at them.
Mm.
And especially if we do it, you know, reply all, everyone can see.
So that would leave us being able to use this format. Yep. Cool.
Yep.
Okay, let's do
One
that.
last
Happy
question.
with that?
Oh,
Jane?
okay, yep.
So this doesn't prohibit any one of us doing an individual as
No,
well, so feel
no,
free
yeah.
to do that.
absolutely, not at all. No. No, because you can be the member of the public and you are able to do that. So, yep. Righto, so can we please move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board A receives the report of Vanessa Hornery, Principal Strategic Planner, titled North Waipa South Hamilton Spatial Study Update, and B, delegates authority to the Chair of the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board to submit, in consultation with the other board members, feedback via the survey on future-proof North Waipa South Hamilton Spatial Study. Can I have someone to move that, please? Jill, second. John. For.
Aye.
Against. Carried. Thanks, guys. Sorry, it was a little bit confusing. So, Vanessa, thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving up your time this evening to come and speak to us about this project. It's certainly, you have done an amazing amount of work, you and your colleagues. And so, yeah, big thank you to you. And hopefully we can provide you with some good feedback from our perspective here in Te Awamutu.
Thank you, and thank you for making the time to provide that feedback. That's much appreciated. Have a good evening.
Cool, night. Okay, so that then takes us to item 6, our schedule of meetings for 2026. This is pages 106 to 107. And these are the dates that have been proposed. So I suppose we need to have a little bit of a discussion around, are we happy to stay on Tuesday? I think that's...
Sorry, I just hadn't looked on my calendar. Are these Tuesdays?
Yeah.
They are Tuesdays. Okay, thank you.
Councillors, we've kind of moved to look after you guys, but one of the conversations that came up was that you will have a meeting with us and then possibly early starts the next day, as opposed to doing a Wednesday where you would have a meeting and then join us in the evening. So
No problem.
no problem. Okay. Well, if everybody's happy with these dates, please know that there is provision that if something did come up that we hadn't spotted, that we are able to alter them slightly, which it outlines in Part C. So without anything further, if there's nothing more, I will read the recommendation. So the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board A receives the report schedule of meetings 2026 of Joe Greed, Manager Governance, and B adopts the following schedule of meetings for 2026 commencing at 6 p.m. I'm not going to read all of those. And then C, delegates pursuant to clause 32 of Schedule 7 to the Local Government Act 2002, separately to both the Chief Executive and Acting Deputy Chief Executive, the authority to alter, including adding to, removing or rescheduling the schedule of ordinary meetings as specified in the schedule of meetings adopted under recommendation B, in consultation with the Chair of the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board. So can I have someone to move that, please? Kane, second. Liam, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so we now move to item 7, our Treasury report on pages 108 to 110. Now we will take this report as read. However, we have oh, my computer's gone to sleep. We have a little part here. You existing members, you will recall that last trimester we talked about tidying up some old amounts of money that had just been left sitting in the fund. So you'll see that there's one there for $230 from the Te Awamutu Community Health Transport Trust from 2023. So we'd be quite keen to tidy that up. So if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to propose that we make a resolution for that money to be put back into the discretionary fund pool. So is there any comments about that or any reasons why anyone doesn't think we should do that? Okay. And before we actually make that recommendation, I just wanted to check if there's any discussion or any other queries in that report. Oh, it's completely kicked me out. Oops.
So we've got the Kihikihi sign like that.
Yeah, but we will leave that for now, just in case we have to pay to get those stainless steel bits. Bill, your mic's not on.
The Te Awamutu Youth Development, what was that? $500?
It was their discretionary funding from that
Oh, thank
year,
you.
and it has been collected.
Thank you.
Yep. So that one got all sorted out. Sorry, my thing just switched off. Dean?
Sorry, it's been a long time since I looked at these. So you've got two in there from the Community Health Transport Trust that look like they're from 23, is that correct? The top one, $100, and then the other one at $230?
Yes, please. So I'm just going to hand over to Debs to explain what happened there, because she'll explain it better than me.
Kia ora. So we have been looking into this. The top one there, which is $121, I am going to be talking to our financial team before our February meeting. It could be just an admin area from everything that I can see. That money was paid in total, so I just have to do a bit more investigating about that one. The second one, which is the 230, has not been claimed, and it's been well over there 12 months.
So that makes sense? Yep, cool. But it'd be just quite good to tidy up this next one. So if there's nothing further around the Treasury report, Liam?
Got a couple of questions. Just on the committed stuff. So I suppose, does that mean that a few years ago, the community board gave them the money or allocated them the money, the Community Health Transport Trust, and then they just decided not to use it, or they didn't use it for some reason?
Pretty much, yeah. So that's what's still sitting outstanding. So, so the future projects yet to be determined, for example, was we had set aside $2,000 in case we needed to do some projects that were just sort of miscellaneous type things to give us, so we knew we had a little bit of funding there to be able to do things. And then pretty much the rest of them have been discretionary fund applications that have been approved, and then they're sitting there. So, but there are some from the battery recycling, so that battery recycling project battery and the donation pack and save project battery, that's now, since this report was written, has all been tidied up, because the project battery, what's the word I want? Arrangement and relationship now is between urban miners and pack and save, rather than the community board being the middleman. So that one will clear out when we see our next report. The other thing to remember, that these reports are often a little bit, hang on, I've got to get this round the right way, are done earlier. So when we get them, there's often been more changes happen in the last month, if that makes sense. Cool. Jill.
And you'll also notice, if you're Liam, that we've got a good balance there, and that's because we have not given discretionary funding away recently. We do that once a year. We get money for discretionary funding. So while we're on the Treasury report, do we know when that might be happening this year? Or for beginning of next year?
Yep. Go.
So the plan was to make sure that we could give the new board the opportunity to distribute the discretionary round in this financial year. So we'll be looking at taking a report to you in February, where you'll be setting your criteria for the funding round, and then going out really quickly after that, isn't it? Deb's December. Do you want to cover March?
Not December.
March.
Thank you.
So that'll be coming up early next year. Okay, no more questions around that Treasury report? Okay, let's move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board A receives the report of Nada Milne, Financial Accountant, titled Treasury Report for the period ended 30th of November 2025, and B agrees to amend Resolution 6/24/20 passed on the 24th of April 2024, which allocated $230 plus GST to the Te Awamutu Community Health Transport Trust by approving the return of the sum of $230 plus GST granted to the Te Awamutu Community Health Transport Trust to its uncommitted discretionary funds, as the grant has not been claimed within the required timeframe set out in the grant application. So can we have someone, John, to move, Jill to second, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, so that takes us to item 8, the chairperson's report on pages 111 to 113. It's pretty self-explanatory, so unless someone had any questions, I'm happy to move my report, but no questions. Okay, so I will move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Angela Holt, Chairperson, Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board, titled Chairperson's Report, December 2025. Actually, I can't move it. So can I have someone to move it? Jill, thank you, and second it, Liam. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, so item number 9, board member reports from meetings or events that you've attended on behalf of the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board. So has anyone been out and about and got any comments? John?
Did the Centre Parade, helped direct the parade down the right thing. The only problem was the Highland Band walked right over the top of me. They just, yep. In other words, they decided to go where they weren't supposed to go, but no big deal. Sunday, I enjoyed the parade. I enjoyed helping the people doing the things. To me, it was a fantastic day for everybody. Did urban miners on the Sunday, and I managed to get down to Memorial Park. Shane was just about finishing the speech by the time I got there, but I went and showed the flag, and it was nice to see that, basically that project with the sundial finished. So, yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else got some comments? Dean or Shane, would you like to just maybe share a few comments from our meeting with Kirsty and Steph that we had last week?
We had a really valuable meeting with Steph, the CEO, and Kirsty. And the objective of the meeting was to look out how we structure things and how we behave to ensure that this trimester we have a very good community board that is achieving results. And that was the subject of the discussion. And I think it went, Dean was there and he may want to comment as well. But I think it was a very positive meeting. It gives me hope that it's going to be a very productive year, and I look forward to the process of working out our strategic plan, because they are the things that we'll be focusing on to achieve for our community. But I'd like to thank Kirsty and Steph for a very positive meeting and their commitment to ensure that this community board is successful.
Thanks, Shane. Dean, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, we'll add to that because I think it was valuable that we did that. The training and the induction that we've had for the council has been pretty intense, but really valuable. And I think we're setting up a really good culture for our councillors with our new mayor. And we were keen to bring that sort of culture here. We don't want to look like we're running the ship, obviously. It's your board, but we want to be part of a successful board. That's why we put our names forward. I think I expressed it in a different way when I talked to Ange, but anyway. So no, I think it was really valuable that we did that. And I think, you know, when we do our strategy meeting in February, it'll show that it's valuable. I have a second question as well, just regarding this agenda item. If that's all right, Madam Chair. I see it's got the same title as we used to have back in the day, as they say. But I wondered, and I've spoken to you, and it says these are reports on meetings attended on behalf of the Te Miru and Kihikihi Community Board, which implies to me that we've got some sort of authority to be part of a group, not just I went to my hot rod club and I want to tell you about my car. So is there organisations that we deem that we should be assigned to as board members, or groups that we particularly feel it's important that we have a strong association with, so that we can actually make sure that we are reporting back from those organisations if you think it's important? And that's my view. I've said it before. I thought it was valuable when we used to do it that way, although we probably got carried away with how many we represented. But I think rather than just do this, because, you know, apart from me going to the council meetings, I don't go to any other groups that I would feel that I would need to report back to, but I'm happy to if that's what we want to do.
Shane, I'm going to let you.
Yeah, I think Councillor Taylor has a very good point. And I think when we do our strategy, I think that might point us in the direction of some organisations that we have to have a good relationship in order to achieve the strategy. And maybe that is the right timing to determine the best way forward on that one.
Thanks, Shane. Yeah, I quite like that idea. I just want to add that one of the things that we do need to take into consideration if we are on a committee, as part of that committee, is the perceived conflict of interest and how that plays out. So I'm not saying that we have to let it impact us, but we need to be mindful of it. So just keep that in the back of your head for that conversation when we do that strategic planning session. Kane.
Yes, so I went to two events or meetings. One was the Red Remembrance Day on the 15th of November. Member Sally Whitaker went to and reported on it last year. It's around the those who were mandated out and who were harmed from the vaccine, COVID vaccine. Yeah, and you know, I think what we need to do is we need to remember that there's still a feeling in the community about this. And as much as we all want to move on from it, I think those people who have been harmed and affected by it significantly have not, still do not feel heard. So there's that one. That was on the 15th of November. And on Friday, the 5th of December, I went and listened to Dr. William Happer, who is a professor from Princeton University in the United States. And he's talking about climate change, and he's doing a tour of New Zealand at the moment. And I'd like to send you his presentation. And basically, I just want to raise some serious questions around this climate change stuff. So we're going to be spending apparently 550 billion on climate change. And according to this professor, essentially it's going to make pretty much no difference. So I think, you know, Bill Gates is now backing out from saying it's a massive climate emergency. So I think this is where we can actually save some serious money with 4 rates. And I would like us to take, as a community board, take a seriously look at how we can, because we're not calling the shots here, but we can request the council to actually take a further look at the science from the other side. So we get plenty of it from the pro side. I think it's time we actually start looking at the other side. Yeah, so those are the two meetings I attended.
Cool, thanks, Kane. Joel, you've been stuck with your knee. Okay, so has anyone else had anything that they wanted to mention from things I've been to, or?
When I said I didn't want to report about my hot rod club, I will, because just a heads up, because the Te Awamutu Rod and Custom Club is hosting the Street Rod Nationals in Te Awamutu in Easter 2027. So that's a big event. It's one of the two main events of the New Zealand Hot Rod Association. Last time we hosted an event of this size was in 2007. So it brings a lot of people to town. So we've already started putting our plans together, looking for locations. But yeah, we'll be hosting obviously a lot of visitors who are coming with their cars and will be part of it, and then a lot of visitors will be coming because they want to come and see the displays and the other events we're putting on. So yeah, you'll be hearing from us over the next year or so around that.
Cool, well, we look forward to that. So I'd just like to add a big thanks to the staff for what's the word I want, Kirsty? Our induction events that we've had to date. They've been really informative, and I hope that everybody's got a lot out of those. I'd also like to acknowledge the opportunity to have gone on the elected members bus growth tour, because that was a real eye-opener of seeing just how far along we are with various growth cells and gaining a bit more knowledge around that. If anybody's interested and you weren't able to be at our induction meeting the other day, please do ask Kirsty or the staff for the information about the growth cells, because it's really interesting what's going on there. In addition to that, I too went along to the parade, so I'd just like to also acknowledge Sally Whitaker, who came along and helped with marshalling people and making sure we didn't run anyone's children over. So it was great to see Sally and have her come and support us at the parade. And a big, huge congratulations to the Te Awamutu Rotary on another very successful parade, and to all of the participants. Man, there were some amazing floats this year, and I thought the calibre overall of the floats was outstanding, and I really felt for the judges, because it must have been quite a tough thing to judge. And all the Grinches, man, I'm not sure, does that mean that Te Awamutu's full of Grinches? But man, there were a lot of Grinches. I also managed to get along and help at the Urban Miners on Sunday. Thank you to them as well. They were shouting us morning tea. Unfortunately, John and I had two commitments that on Sunday morning, but the Urban Miner event has been really successful over the year, and we look forward to its continuation and the opportunity that we have as a community to take our e-waste and get it dealt with in an environmentally friendly way, and to be able to recycle a lot of the parts of the products that we get given. The Sundial, big thank you to Peter and Mark. It was a great event, and to Maria and Ken and anyone else, if I've forgotten anyone, Shane for being our mayor, was it, from back in the day. It was a really great, it was really knowledgeable. I walked along with the Livingstons at one stage, and David made the comment, he went, wow, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. How can we make sure that the public and the people of Te Awamutu know this valuable history? And I think that, you know, it will be reflected in getting those heritage signs up and back in action. So hearing positive things like that was, I thought was really great. I also just wanted to say a quick shout out to Jill. She's managing team leader for Operation Christmas Hampers. This team of people do a fantastic job to bring our people that are less fortunate in our community a lovely Christmas hamper full of Christmas goodies and some presents to help with their Christmases. And I know, wearing my Kāinga Aroha community house hat, that the community is really feeling it. We are seeing increases in food parcels. We're seeing people come back to us quite regularly. So I know, Jill, there will be some very, very grateful families, whānau out there, that will be the recipients of those hampers. And it's thanks to you and your team that means that this goes ahead. And a big thank you as well to all of the businesses and the people that contribute. So on behalf of all of us, I'd just like to acknowledge you and everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, Ange. And can I say, this year, the businesses, the people of Te Awamutu have never been so generous. It's just fantastic, the support we've had. Never had such great support. It's just been, you know, quite very, very moving, you know. Yeah, it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you. So if there's not anything else, I will close with our karakia. Uh-oh, it's gone out again. Sorry. Yes, please. Okay, thanks, Steps. I'll just push that backwards without knocking everything off. So our karakia whakamūtanga, puratia te rangi Māori, puratia te aroha, puratia te nākau pai, puratia ngā wāwata, kia kore e ngaro, haumie, huie, taikie. So hold fast to peace, hold fast to love, hold fast to sincerity, hold fast to our hopes. May these things never be lost. Joined in unity, it is done. Thank you. Okay, so that means we can close our meeting at